How you guys doing?
Good.
You have a crunch?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
How are you doing, Han?
Good.
Good. What do I need for this seminar?
You need to take some notes probably. And I don't know if you need anything else unless you have some questions about what you've been studying or what's going to be on the exam. Hi, Sen. Okay, we will go ahead and launch this. I have a few announcements as we just kind of get started with our second last seminar with me. This is your last history seminar. So well done there. Just wanted to remind you that we're trying to put together a farewell video for Mrs. Waugh. And I understand that exams and crunch time is the enemy of creativity and sane thinking. So it's hard to think about doing that, but Jesse would like to get that together. And right now he has 3 submissions out of like 27. So if you had some time, it's literally, you can just hold up a sign, a dry erase board, a chalkboard, or a piece of paper that has maybe the qualities you like about Mrs. Waugh, something you've appreciated. And you're also welcome to just send a note with maybe a little more detail that you can drop off on the 24th for her. So it doesn't have to encapsulate everything that Mrs. Waugh has meant to us. It's just kind of, or something silly. If you guys have an inside joke, that'd be amazing. That I know she would appreciate that. And I know it takes some effort right now. I have found it hard to think about how do I put it into words, so I get it. But just to remind you to be thinking about that and to send that along to Jesse at his STCCS email when you get a chance. Also, if you are together at any point and you want to do this together, you just happen to be at each other's houses, that's also cool. So go for it. Secondly, your course culminating project or activity is due Wednesday at your exam. So if you could bring all the things for English and history that you are all done with, which will be, as far as I know, so for your course culminating project, you will have 3 physical items that you have created. You will have 1 picture for the Cold War, unless you've been super ambitious and created something. So you will have 3 physical items and then 1 picture of an item. Then you will have 4 paragraph sort of things that go along, 1 per item, talking about the significance of that thing to that time period. That's due Wednesday at your English exam, 9 a.m. So just bring it. Don't bring it to the pickup drop off, please. It's just going to be way easier if you hand it to me than it have to touch like 18 different hands and then arrive at me in a roundabout way. If you forget, for sure, that's like plan B, but plan A is bring it to your exam. Your merchant textbook, your duotang for history of some of those pages I photocopied, all of that needs to come in Wednesday. Again, if you forget the textbook part of things, you've always got your history exam the following week, but just the sooner I get these things in and can kind of get them off my list, the happier I will be. All right, great. So let's talk about your exam. Can I start by asking, does anyone have questions specifically about the exam, or would you prefer me to walk you through what it looks like now that I have it composed, and then ask your questions at the end? Anyone have any questions to launch us? Okay. I will just walk us through what it will look like. Again, not specific questions, but I will be highlighting, hey, we spent a lot of time on this, and that is always a teacher's way of saying, put a star beside that, okay? So when I say We covered this for a long time in class. We spent some time on this. This is significant. You just may want to have a highlighter or a different color pen or marker to just highlight that as I'm talking about it. You also may wish to just print off the, just letting Ryan in here, print off the information I posted on Edsby. So that's all I did. I just created a document and printed that off. Hey, Ryan, welcome. So I'm just going to work through what I posted on Edsby, and I'm going to add some more specific information in terms of how to study for your exam. So studying for a history exam is different than studying for math or even science. And studying for a history exam when some of your course has been in COVID is also different again. So I'm just telling you, I have tried to make this easier by giving you some specific areas to study in a way that, given a normal year where we would have been spending some time reviewing in class together, I would not have done. So it does look different this year again than maybe it will look next year. But just wanted to let you know, studying for history is different because in your history unit 1, say that test was really specific because I wanted you to know specific things about those battles, and I wanted you to know dates, and I wanted you to know casualties for battles we talked about. When it comes to the exam, it's really about being able to pull some information together. And while there are specific dates you need to know in terms of what comes first, it's not the thrust of this. Again, the course is kind of about seeing patterns and connections and being able to talk about those things, as well as being able to talk about significant things that we've spent some time on. So the first section in your exam is just a 10-mark section, and it's matching. Okay, so there's no definitions where I'm just like, creeping barrage, boom, you have to tell me what it is. Again, given our circumstances, that just felt a little unfair. So I don't have any blank, fill in the blanks. The first part is just matching. So column with a word or two, and then a column with the definition or the significance of that word or two. Okay, so that's 10 marks right off the top. Hopefully, again, I've ordered the exam so that you gain, you just gain a little bit of confidence as you work through it, going, I know this, okay, perfect, I studied this. The second part is identification. So I've given you 8 terms and you choose 5 of them. And for 2 marks, you just tell me again, either the significance of them, why they were important historically. Okay, so I've given you 8 and you're just going to choose 5 of them. So again, I'm hoping that within that, you will be able to choose things that you studied well and you know really well. Okay, so that is the second part. Again, that's also just worth 10 marks. Short answer is the third part. So I'm giving you 5 choices and you're choosing 3 of them, giving you 5 topics to write about. So this is where we're getting into pulling some things together and being able to talk about something in a paragraph because it's that significant. So it goes from like matching 1 mark each, identifying something as being significant, like maybe flapper, like tell me, you can't really write from what we studied, you can't write 10 marks or worth on flapper from what we studied. You can if you studied that specifically. So we're moving from like 1 mark, 2 mark to more significant terms and ideas. So this is where we start looking at maybe both wars have something in common. We look at what are the causes of World War I? What were the causes of World War II? Those are things you could easily write a paragraph about. the significance of the 1920s to Canada's identity, to changing roles. How did Hitler gain so much power through the 1930s? What happened or didn't happen to allow that to carry on as it did? Holocaust, Great Depression, what are some factors that made it so difficult? You could have a question about how did the Treaty of Versailles actually cause World War II? How has Canada treated its different cultures throughout maybe a specific block of time? Any questions so far about those bigger ideas that we spent some time on? We talked about, you researched that are potential questions there for your paragraph answers. So again, just to remind you, or to tell you, sorry, not remind you, in your paragraph, I've allotted, each one is out of 7. So 5 for content. So think about making 5 literal points. Maybe it is, how did Hitler come to power through the 1930s? What series of decisions or lack of involvement by the League of Nations allowed him to get to the invasion of Poland, September 1st, 1939? Think of literally 5 points if it's worth 5 marks. And then I've just allotted 2 for style and grammar. So it's most important, the content, but again, it is important that these are in sentence form. Do your best with the spelling, and that you've set it up in a way where in your first sentence, your topic sentence, you're telling me about the thing that you've chosen to talk about and maybe its significance. Okay, so think about how we've talked about paragraphs and topic sentences, and then like 5 points within that, and then a wrapping up concluding sentence. So that's your style marks, but there's only 2. So don't worry if that's not your forte. I'm not marking every single thing as being a mark off, and it's a maximum of 2 off. Okay, so that is short answer. Questions about that? Okay. The next part is timeline. So this is where I have 17 important events in Canada's history from 1914 to roughly 1965, which is really where we left off with Cuban Missile Crisis. We went a little beyond that with the fall of the Berlin Wall, but didn't cover that a lot. So other than that 1989 incident, it's really just 1914 to 1965. So there are mostly things from World War I, 1920, 1930, World War II, because we just did a drive-by of the Cold War, which actually often happens. It's not unusual, and it's not just because of COVID. We tend to spend a lot of time on those and then have to rush Cold War at the end. So 17 significant events that you are going to put in order based on what you know and what you've studied. So I have only done, I believe, 1 significant battle from World War I and 1 significant battle from World War II. And they're different. So I know there were some similarities in terms of you're fighting in the same areas of France at times in World War I and World War II. So there were 2 similar kinds of battles. These are different. and they should stick out in your mind as, oh, that's definitely World War I, and oh, that is definitely World War II. So I've just put one battle. I don't have like 5 battles and you try to figure out. Again, I'm trying to lob this to you, but also hold you accountable and give you the opportunity to show me what you've learned in the course. Yes, Sam.
So for these, do we have to put dates on these, or are we just putting them in chronological order?
You're just going to put them in the correct order. And I'll do my best. If you get like 1 out of order, that's going to make everything else out of order. But I'm going to do my best to look if you have things in order and you just put one thing in this. So you're not going to have it all wrong. You'll get definitely some marks for having things in the right order. Any other questions here? Okay. So you'll want to know things like the stock market crash, just what I put on Edsby, the start of World War I, the end of World War I, some significant battles in World War I. So we talked about some significant battles. So you'll want to review those in terms of either how that contributed to Canada becoming a nation, or in terms as well of where does this fit like in the war. So we definitely covered things like Vimy Ridge, Passchendaele, the last 100 days. So you'll want to make sure you know those major battles. It's a good thing to know when the Americans joined in World War I and World War II. World War II is a little bit easier because it's Pearl Harbor as the inciting incident. Most of us are pretty familiar with that one, but World War I doesn't have like a big incident like that where the Americans joined. So you'll need to know roughly, again, when did they join? You'll need to know things like Hitler's invasion of Poland. When does World War II begin for Canada? So Canada is different than Britain by World War II in the sense that when Britain joins, Canada is not automatically joining. So atomic bombs, those are pretty important incidents in light of the world. Victory in Japan, when does that happen? Victory in Europe. Again, just kind of a little bit more loose chronology than knowing the dates in terms of, oh, that's May 10th, 1945. You just need to know that victory in Europe happened before victory in Japan. And I think logically you understand that. You remember Hitler killed himself, surrendered, but then there was the summer of creating and perfecting the A-bomb and then dropping it in August after giving Japan an ultimatum. So there just are a couple of dates from the Cold War. So things that we talked about that you looked up specifically. Again, you don't need to know October, I don't know what it was, like 20th to, or October 19th to the 26th, 1963 for Cuban Missile Crisis. You don't need to know that, but you need to know in terms of what we studied in the Cold War. Does the Cuban Missile Crisis happen before the Korean War or after the Korean War? What about the airlift to Berlin? Where does this happen? What about the fall of Berlin? So those are some significant things that we talked about in the Cold War, and you need to know just where those fall. Okay, any other questions about that? We spent some time for sure talking about Indigenous treatment within Canada. That's going to be a question. And there's 2 questions that you don't have in short answer. Part 5, kind of the historical significance of, there's a couple of questions there and you won't have a choice about whether you answer them or not. They're just kind of, if you've been a part of this course and you've studied, you're going to do great on those. And I'll just give you a hint. One of them has to do with Canada's relationship with Indigenous people, like from, we talked about that when you guys presented. And again, you did an amazing job on that. I learned so much and I loved those presentations. Indian Act all the way up to kind of 60s scoop. You don't need to know specifics of all of that, but you do need to know some significant choices that the Canadian government made, the impact that that had and continues to have. And as always, as specific as you can be, the better. So for what you researched, you should be able to be very specific about, and what your peers presented, you might have taken some point form notes, and hopefully you can review those and understand the significance of our relationship with Indigenous people in Canada. Okay, part 6, you have a propaganda poster that you get to tell me a little bit about that I don't think you've seen before, but you might have if you are into these things, but we did not study it in class. So just some kind of content about who's depicted in what ways, what's the significance of how they're depicted, what's the purpose of propaganda posters, things like that. Last section, part 7. So these questions are out of 10 and 3 marks for spelling, grammar, organization. So 10 marks for content. So again, think about around 10 points. Don't sweat it. Some of them like are really significant and could be worth sort of 2 as you unpack that. But you should be aiming for being able to come up with some reasons, some dates, like significant events. Again, not always exact dates, but as specific as you can be. So you have 4 topics and you need to choose 2 of them to write. It could be one giant paragraph, and you could divide it into 2. It's really your choice. Just make sure that you're setting up that in terms of the style we've talked about. So your topic sentence should tell me which topic you are dealing with. I should know that from the first sentence. And then your really your body sentences are giving me some details, and you're wrapping up with a concluding sentence. That's how you get some great style marks. Again, there's not a ton, because the main thrust here is that you know the content. Sam, what would you like?
Sorry, you said we had 4 topics and we had to write about 2 of them?
Yeah, you're given 4 in this section, and you need to choose 2 of them.
Are we writing an essay on 2 of them or paragraphs on both of them?
Sorry, can you say that in a different way again?
Okay, are we writing a single paragraph, 1 for each, or are we writing an essay about both of them?
Good question. So you are writing a single paragraph about each. And I said you could do 1 giant paragraph, or if it felt more natural to break that into 2, it's your choice. You'll want to transition between, if you use 2 paragraphs for each topic. Okay, so topic 1, just say for argument, it isn't, but say for argument, it was about our relationship with Indigenous people. So my first sentence is going to have to do with our relationship, the Canadian government, the Canadian people's relationship with Indigenous people within Canada. Then I could choose to write a giant paragraph that has like 9 or 10 facts about this. Or I could choose to break that into 2 paragraphs. That would be covering one topic. Then I cover another topic and I can either write again one giant paragraph about that second topic, or I can break them into 2 paragraphs if that like feels better.
Also, is there an essay portion of this exam or not?
This is your biggest essay portion. So instead of doing a giant essay like you will do in English, this seemed like a better choice. So instead of one giant, you're writing 2 big paragraphs, really. One giant, so you don't need to do an introduction because it's not an essay. It's just, they're just paragraphs. Okay, so there's no giant 5-paragraph essay that pulls everything together or pulls some big topics. There are 2 of these larger paragraphs that you'll choose out of 4 options.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any other questions about your exam? Okay. So your exam is next Monday, correct? So 1 week from today, 9 a.m. at North. So you have lots of time to study. And if I were you, which I'm not clearly, I would put history to the side a wee bit right now and really focus on English. And when do you have math? Friday? No, you have math, what, next Tuesday? Do you know when you have math? Okay,
Next
so you
week.
just have 3 exams, right? Okay, so I would really set aside your history, possibly math, just given how much studying you need to do for English, and focus on English because both of those exams are next week. And once English is done on Wednesday, you have the rest of Wednesday, all day Thursday, all day Friday, Saturday, not Sunday, to prepare for those. So that would just be my advice in terms of devoting your time to English in the next couple of days. You definitely need a break from that, so take some breaks. And if you want to study for history and math, go for it. I'm just encouraging you that English, you don't have a lot of time to study for unless you've already started. Hopefully you have. Okay, if there are no more questions, please know, I just see there's something in the chat. Let me just check that. Okay. I don't think so, Joey. Joey's saying that math is next Tuesday after the history. Like history is Monday though, right? Not, you don't mean they're 2 on one day?
Yeah, sorry, it's the day after the history.
Okay, yeah, I don't think we put 2 on one day. Okay, so I'm gonna set you free to study. I'm gonna be available over the next half hour for sure. And then I'd love to see you for some English preparation in at 1:15 for your exam. Just a couple of things as we close out. I was at the school today. Sorry. There's a package. Okay, I was at the school today. Joey, I got your phys ed stuff, found your deodorant. Your family will be thrilled for you to have that back. Ryan, is this your lock?
Yeah, you can keep it though. I don't care.
I don't know the combination. Maybe next year you'll trust me enough and you can give me the combo. But I will give it, I'll put that in our stuff for Wednesday for you to pick up. So if you missed the first couple minutes, just a really quick recap. Farewell to Mrs. Waugh. Jessie Parker's trying to put together a video for us. It's daunting to think about, especially if you've had Mrs. Waugh for multiple years, maybe to try to put on a small sign what that's meant, or I know it's hard. So just try to think of something, an inside joke, something hilarious from grade 8 if you had, or whatever, something from this past year, drama, or just something you appreciate about her. Pop it on a sign, dry erase board, chalkboard, send it along to Jessie Parker, who will magically put it into a video to give her and for us all to see. Your course culminating project for history is due Wednesday when you come to your English exam. So bring that with you. Any texts that you have, Merchant of Venice, your blue duotangs for history, you won't want those. So you can return those. Bonus prize, if you happen to find a Julius Caesar or an Animal Farm or To Kill a Mockingbird, there will be no condemnation, no judgment at all. So if in your searching or cleaning your room, even over the summer, you find these things, you will be superstars, not condemned. So just letting you know. That's it. So I will see you at 1:15 for English.